For many years, I've conducted various training programs where I've watched students participate in role play exercises. The lion's share of the preparation and stress goes into playing the role of the person utilizing the skills taught. But let's have ourselves a pocket sized pep talk because I believe some of the most valuable lessons take place when playing the other roles in those role plays. And I'll tell you why.
A Pocket Sized Pep Talk, the podcast that can help energize your business and your life with a quick, inspiring message. Now, here's your host, Rob Jollis.
At some point in a workshop, you'll probably be gauged in a role play. Did you see that face you just made? It wasn't a happy face. It was a face that looked like you had a toothache. I'm not sure I've ever met a person whose reaction to a role play was, "Oh boy, when do we get started?" However, you might want to take another look at that role play. Although some people feel that it's an antiquated approach to training, there's a lot of value in it. Let's start with one of my favorite training quotes. What we hear, we forget. What we see, we remember. What we do, we learn. That's why so many good training programs incorporate small group activities, and the granddaddy of all small group activities is the role play. To refresh your memory, role plays are typically conducted in what's called triads or groups of three. This allows larger classes to split into smaller groups, with each group consisting of a person utilizing the skills being taught, a person playing the role of the client, and a person playing the role of an observer. Everyone obsesses on the role of the person who has to actually utilize those skills. That's where the pressure may lie, but that's not necessarily where the key lessons are. In these pressure-packed situations, let's first talk about the person who's the star, the person practicing the freshly taught skills. He or she can only focus on the actual process and little else. I've witnessed thousands of role plays in my career, and I can't tell you how many times I've seen situations where individuals forgot to tell the client their name or their company's name or other incredibly basic pieces of information that they would never forget in a real client meeting. It's quite common for people to finish up and say, "I can't remember anything I just said." It's understandable because in that role, the person's trying to use new skills for the first time. A triad consists of three roles that rotate for a reason. The pressure is not nearly as high when playing the role of the client. The focus is not on the client, and other than having to add some basic background information that's typically written down, the person playing that role needs only to react to what he or she is hearing. And that's where a lot of the real learning takes place. When poor listening habits are displayed, or an awkward question is asked, or a lack of empathy is displayed, the client will see, hear, and feel it. On the flip side, when good listening habits are displayed, or an intelligent question is asked, the client will see, hear, and feel it. These types of lessons can't be read in a book or taught through a lecture. They need to be experienced, and often these experiences are never forgotten. This type of learning isn't just for those who play the role of the client either. The third role of a triad role play is that of an observer. When I conduct role plays, my observers are given a short list of criteria to look for. I try and keep this task to a minimum, and for a good reason. The observers are in a unique learning role themselves. In a sense, an observer is perched above the fray, and that observer can truly feel the nature of the conversation that's taking place. After a role play, it's not unusual to hear a rather stunned observer say this: "I've never had an opportunity to actually hear the conversation that I've had with my clients for so many years." Some say empathy and compassion are nearly impossible to teach, but I disagree. When you understand role playing for what it really is, you can relish the learning that goes on when you're not the one necessarily under fire. Once you remember that, you'll get far more out of the experience than you could have ever imagined.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, please rate and recommend it on iTunes, Outcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get more information on this show and Rob at jollis.com.